JBites, we are back once again for the one and only 23 categories in 23 minutes. This is a really fun tradition that Chris and I have been doing for years. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks. It's been a couple of decades, right?
Yeah, we are the OG. We always will be the OG. And this is always one of the highlights of the pre-Oscar season. So I think we should get right into it. We only have 23 minutes. Let's start with the big one, because I don't think it's a bit of a mystery that we are all pretty much predicting Oppenheimer, correct?
Yes, we sort of sensed this even all the way back to last July when it opened so huge, and then week after week after week, the box office. But to have a prestige movie, an epic, a director who's way overdue, and a close to $1 billion movie, you don't get all of that in one year. Maybe Titanic was the last time all of those things happened. Well, maybe Lord of the Rings. But you don't get all of those elements combined together too often. Yes, I think Oppenheimer. I'm very interested, though. If there is an upset, what do you think is in second?
That is such a good question, because I have actually been toying with that for a while just for fun. Because to me, I really think it's either Poor Things, Anatomy of a Fall, or The Zone of Interest. Honestly, I don't think Killers of the Flower Moon is in second place. What do you think?
Oh, I've got Killers pretty far down. It's just so underperformed the whole season. And by the way, everybody, we're going to spend tiny bits of time on the categories that seem to be locked up, and we'll talk longer about the ones that we're really debating. Rob might even talk me into changes, and I might talk him into changes. I've got Anatomy of a Fall. I think there's a real passion there in second. The one I've got in third is actually The Holdovers, because it might be a coda kind of situation in that nobody dislikes it. And it's such a feel good by the end of the movie, such a feel good movie. So that's my 1, 2, 3. But I can't imagine a scenario where Oppenheimer loses. I can't imagine a scenario where Christopher Nolan finally wins his first, probably two Oscars for sure, and maybe a third.
Yeah, I'm really happy that after Sunday we'll be able to say Oscar-winning director Christopher Nolan, and he's probably my second favorite director of all time at the moment. The first being Denis Villeneuve. Hopefully, he'll get his Oscar soon. I think we could move on from those two top categories. Let's go straight to Best Actress, because that's one of them where it's not settled according to the tea leaves. And I think we're both on the same page, but I am not really feeling very confident. But at the moment, I am going to predict Lily Gladstone will take this out so that Killers does not leave the Oscars with zero.
Well, it could. The last Scorsese movie had a ton of nominations and didn't win anything. Gone are the days where you felt like they were trying to give every one of the Best Picture nominees, when there were five, something over
Yeah.
the course of the night. I do have Lily as well. I do think it could be Emma Stone. Sandra, I think, is an outside possibility, but she of all people really, really, really needed BAFTA. She didn't have to win elsewhere, but I think BAFTA was her corner of the world, and I just think that really hurt her not winning. I do think it could be Emma. It's really the only acting race that I've got any question marks about at all. If SAG holds up yet again, it would be 3 straight years where they have all four acting categories. Not they're not predicting, but matching up with the Oscars.
Yeah.
Remember, BAFTA was 0-4 last year, and they
Yeah.
have three in common with SAG. So are they really going to go? This is in my mind, BAFTA 4-0 after going 0-4. That's why I don't think Emma will win. I'm going with Lily. I wish she had campaigned supporting. I understand her reasons for wanting to go lead. But anyway, I think it's Lily.
Yeah. And I just want to say that the argument for Emma or Sandra really is that, the Academy membership has expanded so widely internationally, and perhaps maybe newer, more international voters would be less likely to resonate with Lily Gladstone. But I feel like the US, North American voters particularly will really feel an affinity for her story. And I think her narrative, being the first Indigenous American nominated, and I'm not really including Yalitza Aparicio, who's Mexican, would be something that people will really rally behind. It's a great story.
Well, and you know
So
what else happened for her, that it doesn't always fall this way on the calendar. Her giving her speech, wonderful speech at SAG, right, 2 days after voting opened. It may not help, but it certainly didn't hurt.
absolutely. Moving on to actor, for a while I think this might be Paul Giamatti's year. That is no longer the case in my mind. I think Cillian Murphy, he holds this amazing movie together with such a performance. He's such a journeyman actor. He's winning.
Yeah, it's Killian. Paul, like we talked about BAFTA for Sandra, Paul needed to win SAG. That was his
Yeah.
group. He's a veteran actor. Well, he and Killian about the same number of years, but he's that traditional character actor who doesn't often get a lead role, which is most of SAG, at least on the SAG side, not the after side. And I just think Paul really, really, really needed the SAG win. It's Killian's. He deserves it. When the season opened, I thought it was going to be Bradley Cooper because he's got the transformation and does the many years of aging and the makeup like Brendan Fraser and Gary Oldman and anyway, but Killian really has won everywhere except for was it Critics' Choice, the only place he didn't win.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's Killian for sure.
Moving on to the supporting races, Davine Joy Randolph has won everything that I can think of. She's going to bring that little piece of paper on Sunday night. I know you're not going to like it, but she's going to win, isn't
Well,
she?
they all hear me complain about anybody that brings paper on stage, especially an actor who knows how to memorize their lines. The worst speech I think I've ever seen in this century was Jennifer Connelly, who was just looking down at her notes and never even looked up at the camera. It's just infuriates me. Just 45 seconds, come up with some passion and don't read it off a note. But anyway, she's going to win. Robert Downey's going to win. They both deserve it. And so many other deserving performances this year. It was an amazing movie for a year for movies.
It really is. I'm so excited about Robert Downey Jr. I remember being a young, very young boy, and still loving his performances. And then, of course, Iron Man and all the other things that he's done. He's finally going to get a statue. I'm very excited. Let's move on to the screenplays because I think there's some question marks, particularly in original. Let's go to original first. Anatomy of a Fall, Past Lives, The Holdovers. To me, they're the three that could probably take this out. And I'm going with Anatomy. I think Justine Triet and Arthur Harari, this will be where they will award this film.
Yeah, I think it might be its only win. Any other year, Holdovers probably would win. It's that kind of movie that very dialogue oriented, very good structure. Alexander Payne movies have obviously won before in screenplay, but I think it's Anatomy of a Fall. I think her getting in for director also shows the passion there, and Payne did not. Adapted, I thought it would be Oppenheimer for a long time. I mean, this is a great group of five. I mean, you
Amazing.
can make the case on any other year for any of these five because they all have passion. And Barbie's on the adapted side instead of original, where it competed most places. But it feels like to me, American fiction being about a writer certainly helps it, I think.
I feel like American fiction, this is where they'll award it as well. It's won a lot of precursors, which then gives us the impression that it has support. But I thought I've been very close to predicting Oppenheimer, and even Poor Things. Tony McNamara, such a wonderful writer, has been nominated before. He's also won. He's won the WGA for The Great. He's been nominated for The Great at the Emmys. He's a great writer. But for a while I even thought Barbie. This is where they could award Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, but I think this is going to be Cord Jefferson all the way. It's such a great category. So
And I
anyway,
think
let's move.
he's certainly not hurt. Or when we read tea leaves, him winning the first time directing, no, he did not. He won the BAFTA award for writing.
Yes.
And that one was a bit of a surprise to all of us. We all thought it might go to more of a British or UK kind of a film. And him winning there,
Yeah.
I think, really told us BAFTA shares a lot of members with the American Academy.
That was a huge one. I think when that happened, it was like, oh, okay, this film does have some support. Moving on to cinematography, Hoyte van Hoytema just won the ASC, and I feel like finally he will be an Oscar winner for Oppenheimer. Do you agree?
Yes. And by the way, if anybody tuned in late, we are doing 23 categories in 23 minutes. So if you're wondering why we're speeding through some of them, if there's not much to say, he's winning that, and it's a complete. I would rank that in the top 3 or 4 in terms of can not being able to imagine somebody else winning. Now, costume design is another story. I
Yeah.
think costume design, taking out the shorts are always difficult, might be of the other 20 categories, might be the most difficult because I don't think 3 are really in the running. But boy, when I saw Barbie, I thought, oh, that's locked for costume design. It's the first thing you think about when you think about the movie, at least I do. But Poor Things has done well across the board. They both won at Costume Guild. Poor Things won at BAFTA, which you would kind of expect, where Barbie, I think, was blanked. Um, I switched to Poor Things just earlier today.
Yeah, I've had Poor Things for a couple of days as well. I think that what you just said about Barbie in costumes is how I feel about production design. We'll get there in a sec. I think Poor Things has this inner squeaker. This is a very, very close race, I feel. And there could be a surprise. If there is a surprise, I feel like it could probably be Oppenheimer in a sweep. Or I would have probably voted for Napoleon. But yes, I feel like Poor Things has this one in a very close race.
Yeah, I think it's the
Moving on.
two. I think they're probably separated by less than 100 votes if we were to ever see the totals.
Yeah. In film editing, I think that Jennifer Lame has this for Oppenheimer. It's going to be one of the Oppenheimer wins of the night. If it's not Oppenheimer, I think Anatomy of a Fall could be a surprise here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's Oppenheimer. And by the way, all the ones we're going to say for Oppenheimer, I truly believe they are probably the best and they will deserve to win. And that's going to give them, I haven't counted, but eight,
Maybe
9
8.
wins.
Mhm.
I do hope other movies are able to win production design and costume design and makeup and hair. And it was too good of a year for us to have this kind of sweeps we've been seeing, like at the Emmys, where Beef and The Bear and
Mhm.
Succession win everything. It was just, I want several of these movies to walk away with at least a trophy or two.
Yeah, I know that the Oscar voting doesn't depend on what we want to see, but I really don't like sweeps. I find them to be so boring and so unimaginative. So I
Sweeps
agree. I
here
hope.
in the categories where other things are probably, I would say, a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay, in makeup and hairstyling, this one I think is another one where it's a little up in the air because for a while I would have thought Maestro would have been the winner, coupled with a Bradley Cooper win, which we've seen before at previous Oscars. Golda is such great work, Oppenheimer great work, Society of the Snow really interesting, but ultimately I thought the work on Poor Things is probably going to take this one out. What do you think?
This is another one like costumes where I might switch by Sunday if anybody's looking at my predictions. At the moment, I have Maestro. I don't think it's going to be a year where we match up an acting win with makeup and hair, which we've often done, even last year with The Whale and the year before with Tammy Faye. Um, I don't. I think Maestro. Um, I'm blanking on the man's name that has won for Gary Oldman.
Oh
Hero.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I think he's
Mariah.
better known in the Academy and is certainly
Yes.
a king of this world. I could see Poor Things. Honestly, I think it's one of the other. The first thing I think about when I think about Poor Things is the makeup on Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Emma Stone to a lesser degree, but definitely Willem Dafoe. And then on Maestro, you think a lot about Bradley Cooper, and that opening shot is all him in his latter years. So it's an either or. Maestro might not win anything. This is its one real chance. And then Poor Things might pick up 2 or 3 of these creatives. So right at this
Yeah.
second, I've got Maestro, but I think it's a close with Poor Things.
I've got to say with Maestro, whoever may feel about the film itself, I've never seen such impressive aging makeup. It's just mind-boggling how good it is, and I'd be quite happy for it to win there. But I feel like it's just lost a lot of steam over this season. Moving on to production design, when I saw Barbie, I had a few things that I really loved about it. One of them was the production design. I thought, wow, that is going to win the Oscar. But I still don't think it's going to take this out. Recently, I switched it to Poor Things because that production design, to me, was the best thing about Poor Things. It was absolutely breathtaking, and I feel like the Academy will agree. If anything might take it over, it could be Oppenheimer in a sweep. What do you think?
Yeah, this is tough. All five again. Oppenheimer, they built a whole town. Poor Things. I don't feel like this is quite as close as makeup and hair and costume design that we just discussed. I do think it's Poor Things or Barbie. The only reason I think this one isn't quite as close when I think about Barbie, because I thought it was Barbie forever. And then as we saw the guilds and saw BAFTA and saw a few other things, I started thinking, do they hold it against Barbie that a lot of that felt more CGI than built sets? Um, Not that it is, and not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, do they, as they're thinking about their options, do they think about Poor Things being more of of a, uh, a better choice
Like
maybe there?
physical. Yeah,
We
like
got
if you're
7 minutes left. We gotta keep
okay,
going.
we're good. I think we're doing good. Okay, for me, best original score is the most locked category after director. I feel like Ludwig Göransson is going to take home another Oscar for Oppenheimer. That is the score that I listen to all the time. It is absolutely beautiful. If anything were to take it over, I would hope it would have been Laura Cartman for American Fiction. But this it's a great category. What do you think?
Yeah, it's Oppenheimer. This one I don't stress over. And
No,
song, uh,
I stress over
it's one of
song.
the two Barbie songs. I'm Just Ken won our award, Gold Derby Award. The one thing that makes me feel pretty confident in What Was I Made For? I know this was a long time ago, but I've always had this sticking in my head in a bad way. Not, I mean, I love What Was I Made For? Don't take it that way. But back in the Disney animation days when it would win score and song every year, the better song lost to the ballad. And I'm talking about A Friend Like Me in Aladdin. I'm talking about Be Our Guest in Beauty and the Beast. I'm talking about Circle of Life in Lion King. For some reason, the ballad beats the better, more uh, just the better crafted song. And I'm Just Ken meant much more to Barbie, but I think the ballad wins here.
See, my view is, apart from being a Billie Eilish fan, I'm nervous that I don't think I'm Just Ken should win. I think it's this song written by Billie Eilish and Phineas is so impressive. It's one of the better songs from a film that I've seen and heard in a long time, and I feel like it should win in a heartbeat. I'm worried for it though. I'm still predicting it. Let's move on to sound, because this is one where I know that we're probably both going out on a limb here. I'm very, very much rooting for the zone of interest to take this one out. If you ever want to see an example or hear an example of how sound can impact a film's narrative, it's this. Oppenheimer is probably the most, the loudest, and it's probably the favorite. Christopher Nolan films do very well here, but I'm really hoping that the zone of interest will take it out, and I'm predicting that it will.
No, it's Oppenheimer. When I walked out of the movie, Marcus and I saw it together, Marcus Dixon, last summer, and I said, "Well, that's at least winning sound." So I'm gonna just stay with what I was thinking, and it's no pun intended. It's such an explosive movie, and if you saw it in IMAX, you can't deny the sound. And I thought when I saw Maestro that might. I mean, they even wanted everybody to see Maestro in full surround sound. But visual
The sound
effects,
is,
we got to keep moving. That one's
yeah,
tough. That
it's
one's
really
so
tough.
tough. The most Oscar-y movie is Napoleon, um, being in other categories. I'm going with the creator. I think I'm not sure how many people even saw Godzilla minus one compared to the creator and compared to Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel movies haven't done all that well here either. So I'm
Yeah.
going with the creator.
It's a great category. The Creator was in my top three films of 2023. I love that film, and I think the visual effects are amazing. I'm very happy that it will likely be an Oscar-winning film. But Godzilla Minus One does have a lot of a following. It's a cooler film. Like people, people like to say that they love that film. It's a great film too, by the way. I'm going with The Creator there. In animated feature, to me, that's a two-horse race, and I'm just deciding to go out a little bit on a limb here, and I'm predicting The Boy and the Heron will take it out over Spider-Man. What do you think?
That's tempting. Spider-Man's really, it's only lost a couple of things, and it's really, been winning almost everything you would expect it to win. I'm going to go with the safe choice there and go with Spider-Man.
In documentary feature, for a while there, I had Four Daughters. It's actually done quite well in the precursor race, but 20 Days in Mariupol has really been the most visible contender in the last few weeks. I think most people will have probably tried to see it, and that's why I feel like 20 Days in Mariupol will take it out.
Yeah, that has turned out to dominate. We didn't know, 6, 7 weeks ago what to do in this category, and then when Still did not get in, everything kind of generalized around 20 days, I think. If Still had been in there, I don't know what I would have done, because that was my favorite doc of the last 2 or 3 years. So
Oh, me too.
creative. And Zone of Interest is so lucky, and Anatomy of a Fall isn't available. I think it would have been a close race. I don't know what I would have chosen, but without it there, I think that's easily taking international. Being up in best, usually if there's an international film in Best Picture, and in this case also director and screenplay, that's the one to go with. You can't deny that that's going to win international feature. And that takes us to the shorts, which last year, maybe the first time in my life, I got all three. So I have no expectations that I'll get any of them right this time. Um, Last year, by the way, Ray and I won the contest. We went 20 out of 23. So again, I won't do that well again. My three really quick. I really like War is Over. And the fact that it actually has John and Yoko's name right in the title, I think it's going to be a nostalgia thing for a lot of voters that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, beyond. Documentary short, I had ABC's A Book Banning all the way up until this morning, and I saw so many of our experts and editors that have switched to Last Repair Shop, so I'm going to go down that rabbit hole with them. And then I'm one of the only ones not picking Wes Anderson to win his first Oscar. They don't really think that way when they're voting, especially on shorts. That's a good little short, Henry Sugar, but I think the more timely one is Red, White, and Blue with abortion rights issues. And I think they love to often pick things that go along with their beliefs. So
Yeah.
and showcase those things. I can already hear them giving the speech on stage. So anyway, that's my three, and the only one I'm really on a limb is the last one.
We have hit our limit, but I will say very briefly that Zone of Interest, one of my favorite films of the year, will win international. And in animated short, War is Over. I agree. I think the ABC's A Book Banning. That's where I'm sticking with that until the end in documentary short, and I'm going for Red, White, and Blue in live
Oh, you
action
are
short.
okay. We're one of
That's
the
one
only
of the
ones.
few. Yeah, it's one of the few Aussie nominees as well. So that's why I really have no choice. It's in my passport. I have to predict Red, White, and Blue. Everybody, thank you for joining us once again for our very brief run through the categories. Make sure you stick with us, by the way, on Oscar afternoon and evening. We have pre-shows, post-shows. It's the best coverage on the internet. And we look forward to having you all join us for the High Holiday. Thanks again for joining us, and have a good week.